How do you tell that the person you're dating is not serious? How do you even know that the person you have committed yourself to is not committed to you? Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the show. This is Jenga Jen. On this episode, I want us to analyze a few points on how you can be able to decode about people who are not serious so that you can move on because time is money. Time is what class? Time is money. In most times than not, people ignore blatant red flags even when they can see them. People ignore these red flags in the hope that people will change, the person is taking their time, and crap like that. By the end of the day, you realize that you wasted your time, energy, emotions, and resources. Instead of that, I will be able to take you through the class and you'll be able to learn how you can be able to understand that the person is not serious. Otherwise, if you see these pointers, if you realize that you're frequently seeing them in a relationship, chances are very high that the person is not serious. But before then, if you're watching us for the first time, this is the Matchmaker Show. We help women to get matches. The moment they get the right ones, they meet their destiny. So you're not lost. You can hit the subscribe button if you find these conversations intriguing. Now, point number one, no meaningful conversation. You see, if we don't have meaningful conversations in a relationship, we are not discussing anything. If we do not have meaningful conversations, you see, a meaningful conversation is a conversation that moves you from point A to point B, is a conversation that gets you going, is a conversation that gives you a winning edge, is a conversation that helps you to make decisions from a point of understanding. It's a conversation that helps you to know where you are located in the periphery of that relationship. From any corner whatsoever, you're able to tell that we are moving from point A to point B. If there are no meaningful conversations, if you don't talk about progress, about the future, I have some bad news for you that the person is likely not to be serious, especially if you're the only one having meaningful conversations and the other person is not interested. So, meaningful conversations are very important in a relationship. You can be able to plan. Okay, you can tell we have moved from point A to point B. This is the plan, and every plan you have ever made at least had some progress. So, meaningful conversations. If they are missing, then the person is likely not to be serious. Number two, if they hide most of the details. Hiding details is a red flag in its own. Hiding details like why somebody is single is a red flag. Hiding details like why somebody wants somebody like you is a red flag. Hiding details like who is family, how many children do you have. You see, some of these details, I find it a bit awkward if the person you're trying to date cannot tell you where they work, what they do for a living, and importantly, they are hiding details about their social media presence. In this era and age, everyone has a social media presence, whether they are vocal or silent. You know, having a social media account is one thing, and being silent is another thing altogether. It's a choice. But you have a social platform of friends and family, people who closely know you. At least if you come to this Facebook page, apart from fans and friends, you still have family members who follow, people who know you from the beginning, you know, people who know you for who you are, where you come from, people who can detail your story just like that, people who can write your story from A to Z. You know what I mean? So if somebody is hiding details, especially you started dating with somebody and they are calling you on an Airtel line. I'm not saying Airtel lines are bad, but even after a month or two, the person cannot disclose the Safaricom number, the number they used to maybe receive money. You see, if you have a Safaricom number, you can prompt an M-Pesa message. Maybe you're trying to send money and you can know the real names of somebody. Somebody wants to only be known through their alias, also known as AKAs. You don't know who they are. You're dating a ghost. If they're hiding details, you don't know the number of children they have. You don't know what they do for a living. The person does not want you to know anybody related to them, dead or alive. Then chances are very high you're being taken for a ride. And it's very, 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 very difficult because at the end of the day, how can you date somebody you don't know anything about? Because even if you are to introduce that person to your circle of friends and family, it starts with you understanding who that person is and telling the other people who you are and how the relationship came to effect. If they don't want you to know, then that is a red flag. Number three, if the person is not marriage oriented. You see, on a show like this one, I'm speaking in the context of marriage because in this show, we match men and women for the sake of marriage. If you start dating somebody and you realize that marriage plans are out of the equation, chances are very high that the person is not serious. I've always opined on this show that men and women are connected for the sake of marriage. That is why, as of today, we are boasting of more than 5,000 individuals. If you multiply that number by two, you get 10,000, more than 10,000 happy people smiling courtesy of the show, husband and wife. The other day, I did a video on the faces, showing the faces of people, and that was not even a complete list. We have not even started. We are just getting a warm up, and people are already excited, fascinated about the idea of marriage. If you talk with somebody for a month or two, the person does not at any given point show commitment in terms of marriage, chances are very high that the person is not serious. So it should narrow down to marriage. Let us get these things clear so that at the end of the day, you will not waste your time, energy, emotions, and resources assuming that you're dating the right person. If it is not for marriage, tell them no. 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 Number four, if you're the only one initiating a conversation. You see, I believe that desire can never be negotiated. I have said that countless times on this show. Desire can never be negotiated. You cannot negotiate desire. And that desire should be mutual. It should be working in a manner of reciprocity. You do this, they reciprocate. They do this, you reciprocate. They initiate a message today, you initiate a message tomorrow. Like that. If you're the only person following up, chances are very high that you are alone. I've seen relationships where people are seated down there and you assume you're in a relationship because you normally talk. But what you fail to understand is that that person is only trying to be polite. They are avoiding to be rude. Otherwise, wewe uko huko peke yako. You are just in that relationship alone. Because why not account for follow up from the other end? Are you getting the point? You see, every relationship comes with a level of excitement. And if that relationship does not bring excitement from the beginning, can you imagine what that relationship will be as time goes by? Because whether you like it or not, the spark goes depending on how you relate with one another. The spark dwindles with time. It might not die completely. It might just be there constant for whatever reason. Because again, the people who got married are adults and they have made a commitment to one another for better, for worse, in good times and in not so good times, in sickness and in health. Adults making a commitment. But before they made that commitment, what made it so? The desire, the passion they had for one another from the beginning. How you start determines how you end. In fact, how you start determines how you proceed. People who are very good in physics will tell you that inertia determines momentum. Inertia is the force with which we start, and momentum is the force that sustains motion. In other words, how you start determines how you proceed. If the spark is not there from the beginning, I have some bad news for you, ladies and gentlemen. If the spark is not there, you are in for a rude shock. The spark will die. If the spark dies before you start, don't start. That person is not serious. So if you're the only person who is following up, who is initiating conversations, you are alone. And therefore, it is time to quit and look for somebody who feels just the same way you feel about them. Is it number five now? If that person is not accountable to anybody. You see, accountability is a choice, but accountability is a pointer of discipline to a place of work, to a level of advancement, to a family member, to a parent, to anybody. That person must be accountable. there must be somebody they answer to, whether that person is a parent, an elder, a clergyman, a society, an institution, a place of work, a boss, name them. And that is why it is important to have accountability partners, because people who are not accountable can do anything. People who are not accountable can mess big time. You see, these people, you understand that you can only learn that the person is accountable after interacting with them. And that is why courtship is important. So when you're interacting with somebody, you often ask them, oh, who is your accountability partner? Or rather, you don't ask it directly to show that that person submit to somebody else. You ask them, who are your friends? Who are some of the people you respect the most? And if you have accountability partners, that means the person cannot let them down. So there are things they cannot do. They have a list of do's and don'ts. So if you realize that the person you're dating does not have an accountability partner, that person does not move with a group of people, that person is not even relatable, that person does what they deem right, that person does what they want when they want, if they don't feel like it, they don't have a routine, no accountability, no nothing. Chances are very high. Even when you get married, nobody cares. You see, when you get married to somebody who is accountable to a certain group of people, to a family somewhere, at least you are safe, because that person can find refuge, solace, encouragement, and support from that group. If that person is a lone ranger, I have some bad news, because they don't care. Nobody even cares, because after all, they have decided that this life is going to be a buffalo lone ranger kind of approach. And if you join them, get ready for whatever lone rangers can offer. So if it is like that, make sure you quit. Can I give you a bonus? If that person is not having some good omen, the opposite of good omens is bad omens. You see, these people who always complain about something bad happening to them, these people are full of negative energy. Negative energy is very contagious. If they were not conned by a friend, they were conned by a relative. If they are not complaining about this, they will be complaining about the other. People of bad omens. If they are not complaining about a very hot cup of tea in a date, or on a date that you went for coffee, they are complaining about the dressing of the waiter or the waitress. If they're not complaining about the hotel, they will be complaining about you coming in late. If they're not complaining about you coming in late, they will be complaining about their children, about their baby daddies, about their baby mommies, about everyone and everything. And then they will be complaining about you sooner than later. So, according to them, you are the only person who is good to them, and you're the only thing that is working. So, ask yourself, if I'm the only thing that is working, why have other people not worked in his life? Why are other people not agreeable with him or her? Why are other people not able to cope with this person? If people have failed to change him, are you Jesus Christ? Are you the Messiah? Okay, Savior. If you want to become the Savior, you can. Okay? But once you faint, we will not be there. You will faint alone, you will wake up alone, because such a person, nothing works for them. And even that day when you faint, because you have been a burden to them, they will let you faint. So some of these lessons you learn every day, you unlearn them and you relearn. So if you're dating these kinds of people and you have seen these signs, those people are not serious. And chances are very high that you are going to suffer sooner than what? Than later. So take care. I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel. I would like to know where you're watching us from. I want to know whether these conversations are conversations that make sense to you and whether you like them. So if you like them, feel free to share. You can share on your WhatsApp, you can share on your status, you can share to your friends and family. We learn every day. Iron sharpens iron. See you in the next video, ladies and gentlemen.